Are you ready to launch your career to new heights? Visit careers.dish.com/technician now and uncover a world of exciting opportunities waiting just for you. From cutting-edge technology to a supportive work environment, Dish has everything you need to thrive. Don't wait any longer to kickstart your next opportunity. Apply today and join the Dish family where innovation meets opportunity. Visit us online at careers.dish.com/technician. Your future starts now.
Just slinging those kokanees like you clearly do?
Yeah.
That was a question for you. That was like, so Lacey and I went out for her birthday last night, and we went to, nice steakhouse, and we had some gift cards to lessen the blow. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, oh, what's your rotating tap? They're like, 016 Prairie White or Granville Island. I'm like, Lacey actually watched my face like flinch. I'm just like, oh god. I'm like, what's coldest? They're like, Coors Banquet. I'm like, that'll do. Like, for a local joint, I'm like, just zero local beer. Like, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
The Old Fashioned was good. The Old Fashioned was really good. So they redeemed themselves there.
The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company. Home delivery available in Regina at sassbeerdelivery.ca. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's dumbest podcast. I am Joel Gasson.
You're just giving us that title now.
Well, it's dumb for different reasons. Not good dumb. This is not the kind of dumb we like to embrace around here.
Okay, fair enough.
Joel Gasson with John Fraser, as always. There's a very good chance you may have missed last week's episode, or you got to it very late. If you did happen to get it, I did see the numbers did spike once our podcast people behind the scenes at Fansided realized that we didn't do something, and that's why the episode didn't push to all the apps.
So wait, they even sent you an alert to say that you effed up.
No. So what happened was, friend of the show, Dave on Twitter, with the dog Indy, he tweeted both of us and said, hey, did you guys do an episode this week? I was like, yeah, we did it a few days ago. Yep. It's like, oh, it's not, I haven't seen it anywhere. It's like, oh, okay. So I go and look at like the stats of on the back end of the website. I'm like, 100% of our listens so far this week are just from the embedded player of 3downnation.com. That's weird. And the number is much lower than usual. That's not great. So I look in the podcast app on my phone. I'm like, our podcast isn't there. I go to Apple on like the website to see, the episode's not there. So I emailed the tech people behind the scenes, and, it was Sunday, so they didn't get back to me till Monday. One of the guys, okay, we'll look into it. And then Carrie emails me back, and she's like, yeah, you forgot to add it to the playlist. I was like, great.
Awesome.
Well done, me. Well done. So,
that's like Fraser level. Like, that's something that, like, I would do when you're on holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was special. So, yeah, no promises. I'll try to remember to do that this time when I upload the episode. It's literally, I push a button and it adds it to the playlist, which then will send it to all the apps you need to listen to this podcast if that's something you want to do. The good news is, if you didn't happen to catch last week's episode, about a third of it is completely useless the next day.
Yeah. Yep.
So you know that nature is healing as when we record a podcast, or when people record a podcast, something really important tends to happen the next day. And that definitely happened to us when we talked glowingly about where the Rider defense was heading, and then 3 of them blew their Achilles on the next day, on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, that was... is this maybe the all-time worst Fraser curse?
It's got to be one of them.
Like, no other Fraser curse has led to, like, a team just being decimated by injuries. The reverse curse led to the biggest rival winning the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
So using my curse to my advantage. And I had no intentions, despite my love of my Blue Bombers, of cursing the Riders this badly. But I do think, outside of my own Johnny Manziel take, this might be the worst Fraser curse. Going, yeah, this is great defense. Larry Dean's going to be awesome. Nelson Lacombo, high on him. Look, give me a combo of Nelson Lacombo and pop, 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 go the Achilles.
So yeah, we're going to get into that and that whole thing that happened there in a little bit. We're going to get into sort of overall training camp thoughts and philosophies on sort of what this could mean for teams and how no preseason after a season off has both its pros and cons. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to talk a little vaccine passport talk as you can head to Ticketmaster.com and sort of look at how ticket sales are going for the Saskatchewan Roughriders so far.
They're not good. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, a little hint after the first game of the year and Labor Day otherwise. Yeah. So we'll see if there could be something that could be done, easily done, to help that.
Huh. If only there was an idea that one province over is doing while selling out their home games.
Maybe. We'll see. But anyway, before we get to all that, as usual, John, in honor of the snapped Achilles tendons, what is in the glass this week?
To pour one out for my homies with the snapped Achilles tendons, first I have to admit, I feel great shame tonight, Joel.
Oh, do you?
And the reason I feel great shame is, although it's for a very good reason, my wife and I, with some very dear friends of ours, are going camping, or glamping, out at Buffalo Pound starting tomorrow.
Good thing we're recording tonight, then. Good thing I asked. Jeez.
Absolutely. That's why when you said Wednesdays, I just assumed it was going to work. And if not, honestly, I would have just brought the stuff and seen how the Wi-Fi was out while glamping. So we, the only thing is Lacey is due, I wouldn't say any day now, but her due date's about 2.5 weeks from now for baby number 3. And the 2 prior both came about 2 weeks early. So I decided to go, and on top of the partake, which I've spoken about, I'm like, I need some real beer. So for an entire 4-day camping trip, I am bringing 8 beer. And I had to save those for tonight, for they are the only alcoholic beers in my fridge. However, I will give you a guess as to what those beers are.
The Pile of Bones White IPA.
Boom, you got it. 8-pack, boom. So,
I figured if there's 8, I'm like, that's a very specific number. You probably bought an 8-pack of something, I would guess that. It was that or the mixer pack, one or the other.
One or the other. So what I did tonight, because I am kind of on don't get anywhere near even buzz territory for the next 3 weeks, I took 1 small shot of vodka, threw it in with some Crystal Light pink lemonade and some Compliments Club soda. So I'm having a little lucky bastard with pink lemonade and club soda. So I won't be the normal incoherent mess I am because I'm not 4 beers deep. So I have no excuses for being shitty this week.
And it's probably like actual pink lemonade, not just normal lemonade with color in it.
Back with sugar.
Inside joke.
That's actually funny because on a side note, for Father's Day, Lacey, as she always does, goes and finds some craft beer and actually found me a pretty cool craft beer out of Calgary called Sunshine and Rain. Really good, nice IPA. One of her coworkers says to her, well, maybe you should get John a gift card for the brewery that we will not name. And she looks at her and goes, he would divorce me.
With cause.
With cause. I can see sitting in front of the lawyers being, listen, I am a craft beer aficionado. I love craft beer. And at the recommendation of her coworkers, knowing I hate this place, she bought me a gift card for there. And basically, I would keep everything, I'm sure, because anybody would side on my side. So there's a little funny anecdote about the brewery. Can we call it a brewery?
I don't even know what it is. They're just repackaging stuff that gets trucked in from Wisconsin.
Well, and now also just like putting flavors in watered down rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, more or less.
And colors in some of them. But there's my, as usual, John going off on a side.
And you're sober. Wow.
Right? It gets worse. I think it's worse when I'm sober. My brain moves too quickly.
For me, a little bit of a treat here, something a little different. It's from Nokomis Craft Ales. You can find them in co-ops around Saskatoon, as I believe they bought most of the batch. And it's only at Sobeys Vic Square in Regina. It just arrived today. It's called the Nokomis Craft Ales. Even a ghost can float.
Huh.
So it's a Goza style ale brewed with Manitou salt and coriander. And so what's cool about this little, so, if you don't know what Goza's got, it's a little bit of a sour beer with a little bit of salt in it. So it kind of plays off these sort of savory and sour a little bit, so it's nice. They're kind of usually light and refreshing and really good on hot days, like it's been for the last week and will be for the next 6 months or the next month because global warming and climate change and such.
Right.
But what's
Get
cool?
used to it.
Yeah. So what's cool about this beer is proceeds from the sale of the beer support the Manitou Boogaloo Festival and the musicians impacted by its cancellation. So the story behind it, Jeff and the team over at Nokomis wanted to brew this beer last year for this music festival,
Yep.
which got canceled for obvious reasons.
Obviously.
So they put it off for a year, and then the festival was canceled again this year. But Jeff decided to go ahead and brew the beer for charity for the musicians and for everyone involved in that festival. So if you happen to see a 4-pack around of it, either at Sobeys, Vic Square in Regina, or basically co-ops everywhere else, pick one up and support a good cause.
Yeah, good cause and good beer, especially since you've introduced me to Ghost style beers. Big fan. I probably would have picked that up, but again, I'm on a pitch count, as they would say.
I mean, it is only 4%, so.
Oh, perfect for the pitch count. Let's go. I'm gonna go get some picked up.
Yeah.
Even though I do gotta stick to the our sponsor, Pile of Bones Brewing Company, who's been with us since day one. But hey, Joel, we have another sponsor.
I know, it's crazy. It's weird. It's I don't really know what to make of it. But here we are. And now I have to do an ad read, which I haven't done since my days in broadcasting. So I hope you're all ready for this, okay? Our friends at Manscaped. There we go. We need a jingle. Jingles always work. Like, our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package. I'll stop. Seriously, though, 4th generation performance package, lawnmower 4.0. That's right, Gas. They have perfected it down to 4.0. Complement your summer bod, or in our case, your dad bod, with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. Sun is shining, calling your name, guys. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer. Going to manscaped.com. Or regular guy summer, in our case.
Or slightly overweight, hairy guy summer. You can go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code FANSIDED20. Now, Joel, it's revelation time. I shave my balls all the time. Have been doing so for years. I never thought I'd bring that up on this podcast.
I mean, this podcast has taken us to a lot of weird places, and this probably might be the weirdest, but go on.
That's me basically proclaiming, and I can tell you, I have used many other trimmers, and good trimmers. Like, we're talking, like, I used to have a wall trimmer. I had some other trimmer I got from Costco, and while you're down there trimming the equipment, and, like, I'm specifically talking the clackers, the balls, you always get cut. And then next thing you know, you are bleeding, and you do not want to bleed from that area. I mean, tell you, post-vasectomy, I bled less than I have bled while trimming things up. So I went ahead, got myself the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. I came with the Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is also something I need as I get old. There's nothing worse than plucking a nose hair and getting that, like, teary-eyed thing. And also, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. I can tell you this worked. I played tennis on Monday, and I didn't get that, like, you drop your trowel and you get that swampy smell. It was gone. Crop Reviver Toner, Performance Boxer Briefs, and a fun travel bag. And legit, Gas, as I mentioned, the powers that be want us to make sure we point out it is the GOAT of ball trimmers. It is. There is no cuts. It is smooth. You will appease your partner because nobody likes to, floss their teeth while they're doing things down there. I would say it is the GOAT of ball trimmers, or if you were to call it the opposite, we were to do opposite days, it is the opposite of neon green of ball trimmers. So if, like, the old ball trimmers I was using were like neon green, the new Weed Whacker and Lawnmower 4.0 is like Tom Brady. That's the spread. It's like going from neon green to Tom Brady.
Okay, then.
No more ball cuts. No
Good
more
to know.
bloody Equipmunk. So there you have learned something about me today, and you have learned something today.
You can also learn that you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FANSIDED20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code FANSIDED20 at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and the weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped.
Remember, nobody likes to floss while they're going to town. On that note, I don't know if I can get through the rest of the episode. I think I might have torn my Achilles from, moving slightly and getting a drink.
Well, the good news is you're sitting down, I assume. I don't think you're unlazy enough or active enough to, stand while doing a podcast.
Although I have moved to a more professional setting, I used to do this with the mic sitting on my belly as I lounged on my couch.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Lacey's no longer working from home, we have this great desk setup that I am now using, so I now feel like a real boy.
I'm a real boy. I'm now a real podcaster.
That's right.
Whatever that means.
No, I have to do a stupid face selfie to be a real podcaster. So you go on, break the news. I'm going to do the stupid face selfie, with my tongue out and the mic in the... there we go. Selfie, terrible podcast selfie. You go on about the rider injuries, and I'm going to find an angle that works for me, all right?
Okay.
And it
Love
won't
you,
be my
Saf.
balls.
Don't worry. Don't take that personally.
That's fair.
So yes, of course, Rider Camp now underway after almost 600 days since they last played a game. The Riders were back on the field last Saturday. Camp is continuing on until basically the end of the month before the first game of the year, August 6th, against the BC Lions. And camp got off to a rocky start, to put it nicely. So the news kind of broke on Thursday afternoon, and it was, of course, reported by 3 Downs Justin Dunk that Larry Dean had blown his Achilles kind of at this workout that was allowed at Mosaic Stadium after the players all tested negative 3 times. You were allowed to head out on the field and be involved in this sort of light workout that didn't involve coaches, so it wasn't really sort of football kind of things. It was more of sort of a workout like the players do every day kind of thing. And it just got crazier from there. So if you listen to the 3 Down Nation podcast with Justin Dunk and John Hodge, JD would let you know that afternoon he got the message. Someone told him that all 4 guys had gone down with this torn Achilles.
Yikes.
And I mean, that's something, if you knew that, and you were fairly confident on that, you would report that, all 4 things, and you'd probably want to get that out there. But this was how crazy this story was, that for the number of things that Justin Dunk has reported from a number of great sources of his, he only went with Larry Dean because he just didn't know it seemed unbelievable that 4 players all went down with Achilles tendons, basically within a rapid-fire span of each other in one afternoon. It's ridiculous for one team to get 4 of these in the same season, let alone 1 on the same day. So if you missed it, of course, it's linebacker Larry Dean, defensive lineman Freddie Bishop III, and a pair of Canadian rookies, defensive back Nelson Lacumbo and running back Jonathan Femi Cole, all of which, at least according to the news broke on Piffle's podcast, that it was this medicine ball sort of workout thing, and the players of All to a Man said this week that this is a workout they've all done before, and they have never seen anything like this. No one's ever really gotten hurt from this thing. And all of a sudden, 4 players blew their Achilles in basically 10 minutes.
It seems like the description of the drill was a lot of going 0 to 60. By the way, too, I know some other organizations scooped them and created some frustration with the guys from Piffles who, broke this, as we will give them credit because that's what we do. Just wanted to give them an extra shout out. Guys, great work breaking this thing. We will give you credit, mostly because I just stole Saf's face in a selfie, so he might be trying to sue me. So please don't do that, Saf. But regardless, it sounds like these workouts seemed like they were hey guys, go out, chuck the ball around, maybe do some yoga, maybe your own individual workout. That kind of seemed like the intention of it was to get guys familiar with each other in the stadium and just being there. It seems misguided that the Riders staff, because they were, again, no coaches were allowed during this workout, but the training staff was. It just seems like a terrible idea that they'd see the guys going from like 0 to 60. And I get it. Guys are excited. Guys are glad to be out. I know I definitely pulled about 18 things when I finally got to play hockey last week, because it was like, all right, let's go. But again, it's harder to pull fat than muscle, so I had that going for me. But I don't know how the Rider coaching staff didn't, like, just tell the guys, like, hey, guys, tone it down a bit. I know you're excited. It's the first time you've been out. Maybe let's just scale it back. Like, let's not do an intense competition drill that guys are going to be pushing themselves for so hard after not having done anything for 600 days. So I don't know who the blame lies with. And especially if you read what the Piffles guys reported, it sounds like this was like bang, 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 bang. Larry Dean was the first one, and then the other three guys were just boom, 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 all within about a short time period. So how on earth does somebody that's out there on the field not go, guys, this is a terrible idea, we should stop this? Like, after the Larry Dean injury, you would think that somebody out there would say, guys, let's relax. You haven't done anything in 600 days. Like, this seems like kids in kindergarten getting way too carried away and continuing to do something that you know was hurting them. I get it. It's freak injuries, but it just, the smell of it's not good. I know the PA is pissed off, because technically, now this will be the interesting one, Joel. Because this was not after the start of training camp, the Riders don't have to pay these guys a dime if they don't want to. I hope they do, but they don't have to. So there's a storyline to watch too.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a really complicated story that could go a number of different ways. You know, the players seem to be taking it in stride, at least, and they seem to... I mean, the coaching staff and all that are going to say what they're going to say about it. To me, if the players are coming out and saying that this wasn't... I mean, the injuries were obviously a big deal, but this drill wasn't a big deal, that there wasn't anything different about it than they've ever done before, I think I'm willing to believe them to at least some degree.
Right.
Because, I mean, if they were really actually angry about it, I'm sure someone might have said something, maybe not even, you know, on the record in the official, you know, Zoom meetings every day with the media, but at least someone might have leaked something somewhere. And there just doesn't seem to have had that. That doesn't seem to have happened. And there's still, I think, a lot of questions about this, and I have a hard time really placing any blame, and I don't know if I want to place any blame on any one individual or group of people, or, you know, whether it's the training staff's fault, whether it's the players' fault, whatever the case is, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a thing that happened, and it's unfortunate, and it's a total freak thing that I don't think you could ever plan for, is basically where it sits for me.
Right.
And because, I mean, and I think the heat kind of come off a little bit when I think the next day a couple of Montreal Alouettes went down with the same injury.
Well, and maybe I think teams might have learned a lesson after that, because if you read about Achilles injuries, they're one of those injuries that can happen when you are going from 0 to 60, when you're going from rest to full bore and not working yourself in. So for the Achilles tendons for the rest of the league, it might be a good thing that these things happened. Like, it just seems like things have kind of slowed down as other teams have opened camp and they've gone, oh, hey, maybe we should take it easy here for the first couple days. So it's good to see the rest of the league learned a lesson after the, you know, the freakishness in Saskatchewan and to a lesser degree Montreal. So at least somebody learned from it. But like I'm just like thumbing through the like CFL free agent list, and man, is that a big loss at linebacker. Like, yeah,
I mean, no offense to the other guys, but that is, of course, and Larry Dean is the big one. Lacombo is also a fairly big one, and it's just it's going to be difficult to, you know, fill that void regardless. And I think at this point they're going to have to rely, at least to start, on just internal candidates, because Jeremy O'Day said it in the media availability they had when this entire story broke. And you know it's a big story when suddenly you get an email from the team saying, there's going to be a Zoom meeting with Jeremy O'Day in half an hour. Who can make it? Oh, okay.
Right?
That doesn't happen. That doesn't usually happen.
No.
That's when you know something.
Like
that's when you know something big and bad has happened.
Well, and that's when the reports were just starting to filter out. I remember you texting me that O'Day is available in half an hour. And again, to let people behind the scenes, almost every time you see a coach interviewed, a player interviewed, something like that, with the and even like when a coach or GM is fired, it's usually like, hey, in 4 hours, these guys are going to talk, or we'll have an availability the next day. I think as long as I did the job, and as like, I don't pretend to be a reporter, I'm just on this podcast. And as long as you've been doing the job, which between your time at, in radio and 3 Down, I can't recall a time that has ever happened that shit went so sideways at one point during a practice. They're like, yep, GM's available. Yep, he's going to be right here. Bring him on down. Like, the price is right.
And I mean, I'll give the organization some credit for making him available so quickly to speak to what had happened. So that's a positive. It's also, I think, a reflection of the times that we're in, that it's fairly easy to set up a Zoom call and get everyone in there in half an hour compared to everyone driving from all over the place to a central location to talk to someone. So there is certainly that to it. But I think even had this been normal times and we were going to meet with Jeremy O'Day in person, it would have been a much quicker turnaround than normal.
Yes. Oh, certainly. It would have gone from, players, then coach, and the routine. It probably would have been O'Day out front in the media room. And I think this is one good thing to come out of the pandemic, that suddenly it's really easy to make a guy accessible for something like that.
Yeah.
You're not calling reporters to a venue, giving them 4 hours notice, getting the venue set up. It's just, hey, this guy's going to be available on Zoom in 30 minutes. You better have somebody available. Now, again, fortunately, you were available, and I know the guys from CKRM were available, and I'm sure other people adjusted their schedules. So it's a damn shame that everybody's laying off like all sorts of sports people in every single capacity, because I feel like this is going to be the future of like all news conferences, news and sports, that, yeah, something happened, somebody's available in 30 minutes, snooze, you lose.
It's possible, yeah. And the other sort of, I guess, shall we say, positive to come from the pandemic for the CFL, at least, if you're going to miss a season and you're going to start a next season late, to me, and I kind of have this working theory in my mind right now, and it comes with the giant asterisk of you have to put the 4 Achilles to the side.
Right.
When I say this, if you're not going to have preseason games, I think there's a real opportunity for CFL teams, all of them, not just the Riders, but all of them, to be like, hey, we can slow this down a little bit to start. We can make sure that you understand every X and O that we're trying to implement right now. The install maybe goes a little slower. This goes a little slower, especially for, some of the new guys in this league. There's maybe a little bit more of a window, a little bit more of an opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the Canadian game that maybe they would not have received otherwise, especially in this post-world where, I believe it's been a few years since they've really had, real mini camps with everyone involved. Because I think that's sort of been missing and sort of been a problem for this league in terms of the quality of play to start the year, if we're being frank. And while I don't think anyone really misses the preseason games, they are an important evaluator for guys trying to make the team. But at the same time, I think for guys on the team, guys trying to make the team, there's a certain slowness, at least to the start of this camp, that may be beneficial to teams that we haven't seen in the past, especially without mini camps, because now you have a little bit more time. Because usually it's okay, camp's here, we have a week. Some cases we have about a week because of the whole 9 teams. 2 teams have to play a preseason game before everyone else, and then your preseason kind of ends earlier than everyone else. So there's this whole jumbled schedule so you really only sometimes have like a week before you're playing a football game. This time, this year, every single team has like 3+ weeks until they're playing a game. Now, it's not necessarily going to translate to great football off the start. I doubt it's going to, given it's been over 2 years. It's been 600 days since they played a game. But there's something to it. The guys, there might be less mental errors and sort of missed opportunities early on in terms of just compared to just general sloppy play, because I think there could be a greater understanding of what every team is trying to do versus, well, we got to rush because we got a game in a week.
Right. No, and let's face it, that first preseason game with the amount of bodies they bring to camp and the evaluations they've already made, that one's always a mess. It's always sloppy. It's coaches trying to look at too many guys. I think you're right, Joel. I think this is going to not only streamline the process and maybe make the play a little bit less sloppy and mistake filled, because again, like you said, you got lots of time to, to go ahead and learn your plays and learn your playbook and everything like that. But to me, it's really going to put the value on a good coaching staff and their ability to evaluate talent. And I think the Riders have good strength in there. Now that I've said that, expect at least 3 of them to come down with severe COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, this does put a lot of pressure on coaching staffs, there's no question, because you're going to have to figure out who is the guy that's worthy of making this team without ever really seeing them play a game, which is something that's never really been done in this league before. It generally happens in college football. There isn't really cuts per se, but you still have to figure out who your starters and who your backups and who your third stringers are, and then the rest kind of just sit on your bench because you have unlimited rosters. But
right,
I mean, it's going to be a challenge, and so I think, yeah, you're right. I think this is a year that is going to separate coaches across this league in terms of who's really good and who isn't.
Right,
and for my mark, I believe Craig Dickinson and the staff continue to do the right things. I think they say the right things, and their heads have always been on straight. I think there's a calmness that Craig Dickinson brings to this team, and accountability that he brings to this team that I think is going to help him in the long run. I think he is going to be a guy that maybe shines throughout this season because of that. And, the example of that I see is, when he came out on the first day of camp and spoke, there was a lot of questions naturally about the 4 players who got hurt, and he answered them all. And the part that stuck out to me was when he basically said it was our fault. He thought, said if the coaches were out there, this never would have happened. And he said, we got to be better. And, the whole coaching staff himself, everyone's got to be better and make sure that this doesn't happen. Is it his fault? I don't think it's really his fault at all. Things happen. That the rules were set up the way they were. There's nothing really Craig Dickinson could have done about it in that situation. But regardless, a good leader and a good coach takes responsibility in that spot, and that's what Dickinson did.
Yeah, and that is so rare in professional sports, right? You're always looking for somebody to pass the buck, not somebody to stand up, get in front of it, and do it like Craig Dickinson said. And I mean, you texted me after the media fails being like, holy crap, we are so lucky to have him because he's just like a breath of fresh air and so well-spoken. And I feel like I should say something bad about him here because I like him a lot.
It's hard.
Right. But I like him a lot. I like the way he carries himself, and I definitely don't want to phrase or curse him. So let's go with Craig Dickinson only drinks beer from the brewery that should not be named and has been known to punch babies. There.
I mean, I can actually tell you that first part, he actually drinks good beer. I remember there was...
I know, we've discussed this
There was
before,
the coaches' roundtable, he was talking about Nokoma's craft beer. I'm like, God damn it, this guy's amazing.
Right? Could we? Okay. I never thought I'd say this about a coach.
Yeah.
But so our interview list continues to be, okay, the only interview we've ever done on this podcast is Derek Taylor, who's an incredible human. We love him to death.
The only football
and
interview
on the
we've done,
potential
yes.
list are Sergio, Cody Fajardo, and I feel like if we could get Craig Dickinson on not to talk football.
No. I would talk life with Craig Dickinson.
100%. I'd want to hear about him being a snowboard coach, his favorite craft beers in Saskatchewan, stuff like that. If we could ever get that arranged with Ariel, a sit down over a beer with Craig Dickinson and just say, listen, we ain't talking football at all.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a brewery. We're going to sit down with Craig. We're going to record an episode. I I think I would add him to our very prestigious list that so far only includes Derek Taylor, Sergio, and Cody Fajardo. I would like to make that motion right now.
Yeah.
Again, under certain circumstances, because again, like he's very well spoken at a press conference. I'm with you. I wouldn't want to talk to him about football. Dude, you're a snowboard coach. You like craft beer. Let's talk about that. I think we'd have a lot of fun with that.
I think we would too, and I think he would probably enjoy the. I think he was the kind of guy who would enjoy that as well. Right now,
we got to start sweet talking Ariel now that we can actually like hang out and see each other.
Yeah, well, we can. She's in like tier tier 1 they're called. So like no one's like pretty much no one except the players and the coaches is allowed to see her, and we're not allowed to see like any of them in person yet. So
that's fair. See, that might be. I feel like that might be something cool to do, and I just spitballing here, like live at POB Grey Cup week.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the team isn't in it, yeah, that might be possible if the team isn't in it.
That's right. And the way I'm Fraser cursing them, they might not be in it for a few more years because of my existence.
Yeah. Also, what exists right now are actual games.
Well done.
And tickets are on sale right now for Saskatchewan Roughriders home games. And if you go head over to Ticketmaster.com right now, you can kind of get a sense of how things are going. And, okay, home opener, August 6th against the BC Lions. Yep, good chunk of sections grayed out. Looking, they said in the media, trending towards a sellout, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can see that one, or at least close to it. Then you go to the next week, and part of this could be schedule. Like the first 3 weeks are all at home. That's a lot at once.
But they're also weekends in beautiful weather. Like that.
To be fair, but maybe people are like Brendan Labatt, where they're like, it's too late in the year now. I want to enjoy summer, not go to football games.
I don't know. You think people have been waiting a long time. It's almost like there's a dumb policy decision keeping people, away from going.
Regardless, yeah, week 2 against Hamilton, Saturday night. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then a bunch of boxes. So yeah, I mean, we're looking at maybe 30, including like the whole like boxed area that are only sold out. There's a lot of darker blue on this map.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Like so right now I could buy, again, verified resale, but I could buy 2 tickets, row 20 behind the rider bench. Right now.
Even Pill Country isn't even sold out.
Yeah, Hill Country is very wide open. If you're looking through it, like there's a whole bunch of like seats you could buy, and that's to me that's surprising. But I have my own feelings on it, right? Like for me,
it kind of continues on the same trend from there, other than Labor Day, which isn't surprising.
I mean, Labor Day is always going to be Labor Day. So for me here, Joel, I am a father of 2 3/4 of a kid. Fortunately, thanks to science, that 3/4 of a kid will carry the antibodies that Lacey does for the coronavirus. But the thing that worries me the most, I right now, based on science and everything I've read, and like I'm the kind of nerd that reads the university studies and the medical journals, and I try to stay away from the media.
I mean, we are the podcast that has the disclaimer that we believe in science. So
exactly, and I feel like between saying climate change and this now, you should definitely air that on this episode.
Oh, it's at the start of every episode now. I just put it in regardless.
I love it, and especially because Graham did such a good job voicing for us. Love that guy. For me, based on science, I would go. If I wouldn't have a baby by August 14th, that's probably a game I look at. I might go down with a buddy, meet up with you, have a good time, all is well, because science says all of my friends I go to the game with have had both their shots. They're basically immune. I know you've had both your shots. I know Jenny's had both her shots. You're basically immune. Now, the thing that I feel like is holding me back and lots of others back from is without any kind of vaccine verification, let's say I go with my kids.
Yeah.
Neither Max or Connor, who want to go to a basketball game, who want to go to a Rider game, are immune from the coronavirus. So basically, There's nothing telling me that if I was to buy 4 tickets, that I would not be sitting beside somebody who is dripping with COVID. And as much as I believe in the science and as much as I would go by myself, the thought of exposing my kids to that, I don't want to go. And let's face it, the riders need not just a bunch of drunken 30-year-olds to go to sell out. They need families. They need everybody. And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling the same way. And for the amount of very vocal right-wing Buffalo Party, Mark Friesen, Chris Sky-loving fucking idiots that would be at the game, I don't understand that even though the province is saying one thing, you are a private business. I don't understand why the team has not looked at this and gone, you know what? Maybe we should. I hate the word vaccine passports because it makes everybody all freaked out and things like that. But
proof of vaccination.
We should require proof of vaccination.
I would say at least one shot. I don't know if everyone necessarily needs to be fully, but I think at least one shot everyone should have, yeah.
I would agree with that. I would prefer everybody 2 shots. If you read the actual science behind me with 2 shots, sitting with beside somebody who's, even my kids sitting beside somebody who's 2 weeks out from their first shot, the odds of COVID spreading to my kids is very slim. So it seems like such a tap-in, a no-brainer, and this is something that even the Calgary Stampede, and all jokes aside about the Calgary Stampede, right now, if you and I walked into the Calgary Stampede with our just out of the box, collared shirts and terrible cheap cowboy hats, if we walked in there right now and we showed them our little cards that say, yeah, you and I have each gotten 2 doses of vaccine, we get to walk in, crush beer out of a boot, pitter-patter, let's get at it.
In basically, the one specific, music venue area. I don't know if it's the whole thing, is it? I thought it was this Nashville North or whatever it's called.
It's certain tents as well. My sister was up here from Calgary. My double-vaccinated sister was up here last weekend, and we were talking about that. And a lot of the Stampede Run things, like a lot of the main attractions you want to go to, you either require proof of vaccination or a rapid test, and the lineups for the rapid test, apparently you're waiting for 2 hours. Welcome to your new reality. And I have, that to me is what the rider should be doing. Either show up at the gate with your proof of vaccination or sit in line and get your PCR test. By the way, we're going to open the gates 4 hours before because it's going to take us that long. So the team has been good. Their media procedures are good. If you're not vaccinated, you basically can't be anywhere near the team. So don't be I would expect to hear a different voice on the rider sideline this year because of that. But I don't understand why as a private business you don't look at that and say this is hurting our numbers, because I can almost assure you the amount of people that would go if you said, okay, by the way, when you show up, we need your little vaccine card, or you get to do a test and wait 4 hours.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't begin to understand what the privacy concerns that our provincial government is talking about when it comes to this sort of thing, sort of on a grander scale, not just rider games, but anything in general. Because
but that's the thing I don't get.
I'm saying I don't get it, because I think anyone who is vaccinated will gladly tell you that they're vaccinated. There's 100%. no concerns about that.
We all posted selfies. We all texted each other our selfies.
And I think a lot of the people who are very against vaccines are very quickly to tell you that they're also against vaccines. So I'm not sure who's really hiding this information from anyone. And I think the privacy concerns are just complete bogus bullshit to appease a base of some kind. And instead, because if there actually is some kind of law on the books right now that is preventing this, that law needs to be changed for certain circumstances, and this is one of them, because clearly this is not a rule that exists in all jurisdictions across North America or the world or wherever, because even Canada, Manitoba has this in effect. Quebec is threatening it if things take off in the fall again. So clearly this is something to be done. Ontario, apparently, I saw today, had looked into it. They actually started doing some of the back end work, and then pulled the Doug Ford, and they decided not to do it. But they were at least looking into it. And so now it's like, okay. I think there is certainly the argument to be made of, if you want people to show up, you want them to come into a safe environment. And it's outdoors and all that. I get all that, blah, 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 blah. But there are parts of Mosaic Stadium that are kind of enclosed. And people, generally speaking, aren't going to want to show up to a lot of things if they don't feel safe. It's one thing right now, without rules, to walk into some store or something, but to sit with 30,000 other people for 3 hours, that's an ask.
Yeah,
that's an ask no matter the conditions. And I think especially when you look at the recent poll, the poll that came out of just Saskatchewan people, not some poll where we get shoved in with a bunch of other people or a very small sample size, said 60% of people in this province want something like that in effect.
Right.
So why are we again bowing to the minority in this situation?
Because they get people elected. And the funny thing is with the privacy thing too that I don't understand. Have you ever traveled like on a hot holiday or anything, Joel?
No.
You need proof of vaccination to enter different countries.
Yep. No, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Right. So it's like I don't get how like it's like if I can give the
kids
Cuban...
need don't you need to like prove that your kids are vaccinated to send them to school in most places?
Yes. So you need to prove your kids are vaccinated to send them to school, even here in Saskatchewan. To go to any other country, like the Cuban government and the Mexican government and the American government have my vaccine records.
I know from my father-in-law that you need a vaccine record to bring your dog over the border.
Yes, you do. Yep.
So
yeah, if you want to go someplace with the dogs, you need it. So I don't understand it. I keep saying this is, and I've said it before, that when the riders didn't come out with this philosophy, I felt like they didn't want to stir the pot, but money talks.
Uh-huh.
And if it's going to start costing, because let's face it, this, all of these games is where they're going to make their nest egg.
Uh-huh.
August 6th, 14th, 21st, September 5th, and 17th, that's your year right there. Great weather. Because of this chaotic season, the team might not be good after those games because we don't know anything. Your odds of selling in October and November are significantly lower. So I hope the riders blink and just say, hey, if the Calgary Stampede's doing it, why the hell aren't they? I don't get it. It's a point of frustration. And honestly, I'm not going to go to a game this year because of it.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think that's entirely fair, and I really don't think you're alone in that fact. I'm going to go because I'll be in the press box and I'll feel safe up there.
Right, exactly. You're in your little press box bubble, and you're going to have 6 feet of distance, and the anti-vaxxer will be banned from the stadium.
Hey, Jacques Cartier. Show's over.
And Grant Biebrick.
Show's over.